Now, I want to argue here today that in the context of our theme, these trends are vital to our understanding of how we can leverage what is happening in cyberspace, leverage this gift culture, and mobilize people's natural propensity to connect, to collaborate, to volunteer their time, and engage in both teaching and learning activity. It seems to me that the technology has vastly improved our capacity at a reasonable cost to do 5 things at least. One is to reach people that we've not reached before, person to person, group to group, school to school, institution to institution. 2, enable them to contribute to the web, to the content on the web, from their communities, from their cultures, from their worldviews and language groups. 3, include them in learning communities and provide them with learning resources. 4, enlist people all over the world in mentoring and tutoring activities, both formal and informal. And 5, enlist their help also in extending learning possibilities wherever they happen to physically be. Mobilizing, and I use the language of war and campaigns advisedly, in effect, a giant volunteering effort. And indeed, not all of the activity need be strictly volunteering only. There is quite a well-established activity called service learning, where academics have found ways of giving credit, academic credit, to students for their service activities. This would encourage students and accelerate their propensity to join either physically in some giant kind of Peace Corps or virtually in ways I have suggested. And this is not as far-fetched as you might imagine. Already we have examples of the internet being used by young people mostly to devise innovative solutions to global challenges, using technology to share ideas and mobilize resources to create a new kind of society for the 21st century. Take Healthcare Volunteer, for example. That's a non-profit organization launched in 2006 by Nilesh Patel, an American dental and medical student, who realized the need for a free non-profit portal that connects all volunteers interested in healthcare to volunteering opportunities worldwide, anywhere, at any time, for any length of time. The need for global healthcare, as you know, has exploded in recent years. At least 1.3 billion people worldwide lack access to most basic healthcare, often because there are no health workers to take care of them. Lee Jong-wook, the Director General of the World Health Organization, has said the global population is growing, but the number of health workers is stagnating or even falling in many of the places where it's needed most. So the health report goes on to say we need the right workers with the right skills in the right place to doing the right things, and a mission to empower any individual to make an impact in community and global healthcare. Healthcare Volunteer is working hard to fulfill that need and is currently the largest listing of health-related volunteering opportunities in the world, accessed by thousands of volunteers and job seekers from more than 118 countries. Another example is Psy Inc., formed by a young ex-psychology student, Bernice Ang, connecting young Singaporeans to take action on a wide range of social issues from HIV/AIDS to social entrepreneurship. And another example, my last one, is a website called Brainstorming, again formed by a young woman called Talia Delgado during her European Voluntary Service Project, a virtual channel for young people from around the world to contribute stories, essays, photojournalism on anything from human rights to social exclusion, and there are more. Now, we know that there is already an acceptance encouraged by the last UNESCO World Conference on Higher Education, and to be further encouraged by the next one next year in its theme, that universities already play a key role in what has come to be known as civic engagement. There are some impressive examples of service learning and campus compacts from which we can all learn. It seems to me that there's even a resurgence in universities' commitment to civic engagement, and I take the Talwa network as an example there. But what I'm suggesting here takes the notion to a whole new level, playing it out on both local and international stages, both in physical spaces as well as cyberspace. And what I believe we can expect from our universities, wherever they may be, is that they recognize the challenges of this century and take the lead in addressing them, harnessing all the resources that they have at their disposal, including their staff and students. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are clearly many challenges in the parallel routes that I am suggesting, and I'm going to mention just 5. There are challenges to governments and funders to give serious priority to the cyber infrastructure of countries and regions, not the least of which is expanded phone networks and broadband coverage. The challenge extends to policymakers and quality assurance regimes to devise new forms of encouragement that recognize the new landscape, including the informal landscape, and make engagement with it a non-negotiable. Then there are challenges to academics in grasping the opportunities and learning to understand the nature of what John Seeley Brown calls the 21st century learningscapes. The challenges extend to devising new models of assessment, new bridges from the informal to the formal, new ways of recognizing learning in volunteering. And the challenges further extend, of course, to the research domain, but I have insufficient time here to explore that. And then there are challenges to institutions to take on the leadership of not only encouraging their students and staff to take on volunteering lead, but leading the campaign to mobilize at large scale both the teaching and the mentoring roles, but also lead the charge in populating the web with local material. The 4th challenge is to the private sector in being ever more bold in their conception of social responsibility and using their huge global resources to really make a difference. And we've got some fine examples in the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, who have made possible the Open Educational Resource Movement, the Microsoft and Gates Foundation, Cisco, there are others. And finally, there is a challenge to ordinary people like you and I, and especially students as the leaders of tomorrow, to answer the call for mobilization and throw their considerable talents into the cause. If ever we are looking for a multiplier effect, this has to be it. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say I'm enormously encouraged by the dazzling technologies, the dazzling advances in technology, and the hope that they give us for reaching people in ways that would have been impossible not so long ago. And I'm also enormously encouraged by how, enabled by technology, we are learning to share our common wealth. The most abiding uplift for me comes from our perception of more and more people involving themselves in activities with purpose beyond themselves. It seems to me that it's especially young people who are demonstrating their understanding of what James Martin calls the awesome meaning of the 21st century. Douglas Alexander, the British Secretary of State for International Development, in a speech last year, had this to say: "We can't say our generation doesn't have the financial resources to eradicate global poverty. We can't say our generation doesn't have the technological capability and scientific know-how to end needless suffering. We can't say our generation does not have reason to do it. It's up to us. It's our shared responsibility. It's our shared opportunity. And working together, I believe it can be our shared achievement." I couldn't put it better myself. Thank you for your attention.